In Homestead, Florida, stands one of this generation's megalithic structures, built by a single man named Ed Leedskalnin. First in Florida City, he relocated the entire castle to Homestead, Florida, where he completed the work. Frequently compared to the pyramids at Giza, the heads of Easter Island, and Stonehenge, we look at Coral Castle. One giant question remains. How did he build this? The only first-hand accounts that we have of other people watching Ed work is only at night, where he has been said to sing to the stones that now make up what he called Rock Gate. Many of these single pieces of rock weigh over 1,000 tons, and the question remains, how did he do this? We explore this question among many other questions about the nature of our reality, hidden technology, mathematics, and the world energy grid. Come along with me on this journey as we look into just how Ed Leedskalnin created Coral Castle. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Yissel Missile Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissel, and today we are continuing our deep dive series into Coral Castle. Today's part 22, and we are picking up from where we left off in the energy grid by Bruce L. Cathie. Chapter 17, The Harmonics of Humans, and Chapter 18, Builders in Stone. Good to see you here, Zenray. I appreciate the support and being here live. We're going to have a good show tonight. I hope you all had a great week. We got more of our books in the mail this week as well. It's looking to be a really interesting next couple of months for sure. So first, we will get the slideshow set up. And then we will cue our music for our reading. There we go. Hey Andres, and hello Rain. Good to see you both here. We got a good one tonight. Now, as I continue doing these lives and I meet new people, and it's great. I love connecting with other YouTubers. The only hurdle with that is realizing that some shows are running simultaneously to mine here, so I appreciate you all being here. It's It means everything to me. You being able to join me live, I really appreciate it. But along with meeting other YouTubers, it helps get the channel exposed to more people. And really, I'd rather have more people here than just subscribers, because obviously we don't get everybody here that's subscribed live. That'd be ideal. But we know YouTube doesn't really work in that fashion. But it's alright, because we still get a good 30 to 50 of you after the live is over. So it just depends on what everybody's doing. Everybody runs different schedules, and that's okay. So as I said, we're running chapter 17 today, as well as chapter 18, but chapter 17, the Harmonics of Humans. Real quickly, I suggest, so one of these new YouTubers, new to me, that I met over the past week is Josh from Paranormal Roundtable. I highly suggest, if you aren't subscribed over there, to please go do so. I did guest for their open mic yesterday, and I feel I'll be on there a little more often as the time goes on. So go ahead and give Josh a like over on his channel. He's a good guy. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but I am also a guest on open mics on Tuesdays and Thursday nights on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters with Abe Cius. So I highly recommend going and subscribing to him. And we can't forget Brenda from the Beyond the Box channel. All three I personally talk to on a regular basis now, and supporting our part of the YouTube streaming community, I think that's the best way to go forward with everything. So, thank you all again for being here live. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rain. Yeah, Rain is putting in the live chat here the names to look up to subscribe to. I appreciate that. So if I can, I'll add it as a comment on the video once the live is over as well. We should have clear audio as well. I'll lower the music just a tiny bit. It should be clear. Everything on Zoom H6, my audio device, it looks like it's running fine. Try reloading the window if you're getting interference in the signal. But without further ado, let's start chapter 17. And as I've said before on previous parts of the deep dive, this book will cover Coral Castle. It's near the end of the book. So, we're getting close. Chapter 17. The Harmonics of Humans. The unified equations tell us that the whole universe is manifested by the harmonic geometric matrix of light itself. The whole of reality is light. Therefore, it follows that we as human beings must consist of nothing more than a geometric collection of the harmonic waveforms of light, guided by intelligence. What we must look for is some proof of this in the evidence available to us. There are, in fact, several clues which indicate that the human form is in harmony with the universe we live in. The first clue is the gestation period of a human being. 9 months, or an average of 270 days. There is a great scattering of birth times, which are either side of this 270-day average. But if we argue for perfect harmony, then there must be an optimum time between conception and birth, which would help to guarantee the production of a perfect human being. As each day forms a part of our geometric time cycle, it seems reasonable to assume that perfection would be more likely to result from a gestation period of 269.44 days. This would tune the body directly with the harmonic value derived from the unified equation 26944, or 26,944. Either way you want to read that. Note, slight variations of the unified value are manifested due to changes in the light speed as the distance from the Earth's center increases. This is fully explained in my book, The Bridge to Infinity. Values of 2695, 26944, and 2693645 have been calculated using the small variations in light speed. For this exercise, I have used the average value of 26944. So very quickly here. The Bridge to Infinity is a separate book, and it's been mentioned several times already. So I'm looking that up. It will possibly make an appearance on this deep dive series. Because this is all related to the possible math that Ed Leedskalnin used. We're trying to figure out exactly what he knew here. The second clue is indicated by the temperature at which the human body functions most efficiently. Like any machine, the human body will start to deteriorate physically if the temperature becomes too low or too high. The Dictionary of Medicine, or the Marshall Cavendish, states, quote, "The average temperature of a human being is taken to be 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit in Great Britain, but American doctors prefer to take it as 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a difference of 0.2. Readings between 97 degrees Fahrenheit and 99 degrees Fahrenheit are completely normal. Temperatures much below 97 degrees Fahrenheit are usually only found either in underactivity of the thyroid or after exposure to cold. Temperatures between 99 degrees Fahrenheit and 100 degrees Fahrenheit may not be of much importance, especially in children, but readings of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit are almost invariably indicative of some infection or sometimes some other form of inflammation." End quote. I would predict that the temperature at which the human body performs most efficiently, both physically and mentally, is 98.80412 degrees Fahrenheit. 98.80412 degrees Fahrenheit equals 37.1134 degrees centigrade. The harmonic reciprocal of 371134 equals 269444. If the unified harmonic is built into the body at birth, then the temperature at which it functions appears to be at a level which would set up the harmonic reciprocal, causing a reaction and life. A third clue is evident in the nodal points in the human body where bioenergetic processes are most prevalent. These are the major points used in the science of acupuncture. The following is an extract from the book, quote, The New Soviet Psychic Discoveries, end quote, by Henry Griss and William Dick, page 418, published by Sphere Books Limited. Just give me a moment here. See, I'm taking notes as we go along here just so that I can follow up on certain things. Again, this is an excerpt we're about to read from The New Soviet Psychic Discoveries by Henry Griss, spelled G-R-I-S, and William Dick. At Alma-Ata, the Leningrad surgeon Dr. M.K. Geykin, spelled Geykin, was experimenting with Kirlian photography. That's spelled Kirlian. He had spent some time in China where he worked on acupuncture. Fascinated by Kirlian's method, he decided to visit him in Krasnodar and induce him to build a gadget that could help physicians find the points of acupuncture on the human body. Kirlian listened to him with great interest. He had already discovered long before that the 695 points on the human body considered to be the points for acupuncture coincided with the points of intense luminosity brought out by Kirlian photography. Quote, Kirlian was the first, with his photography, to come up with a machine to determine the points of acupuncture. End quote. It was a joint effort between Kirlian, Dr. Geykin, and electronics engineer I.V. Mikhailevsky. That's spelled Mikhalevsky. Later Soviet physicist Viktor Adamenko constructed his own instrument, which had a very original and stable electronic circuit. Adamenko's device not only determines the points of acupuncture, but observes the bioenergetic processes in the human organism. The number of acupuncture points, 695. The reciprocal harmonic of the speed of light at the Earth's surface. Again, it appears that the body's bioenergy system is tuned to react to the harmonic of light. The fourth clue was published in an Australian magazine called Simply Living several years ago. The following is an extract from a long article regarding the mathematics of the world grid system. Man. See how many sources were being used here? Cathie knows what he's talking about when he's putting this book together. The formation of matter. Using three main harmonics, Cathie was able to initiate a basic equation. The harmonics he chose were 1703, which is the Earth mass harmonic, 1439, which is the speed of light harmonic, and 264, which is a harmonic that recurs with the polar squares. Initially, these correlated as 1439 plus 264 equals 1703. But extending the accuracy to five-figure harmonics, this became 1438.9 divided by 2636, or plus, I'm sorry about that, 1438.9 plus 2636 equals 17025. This could be interpreted as light plus 2636 equals mass formation. So what does the harmonic 2636 represent? Surprisingly, this is the harmonic square root of 695, the reciprocal of the speed of light, which allows the incredible conclusion that mass equals speed of light plus square root of the reciprocal of the speed of light, i.e., m equals c plus the square root of 1 over c. In equations, the speed of light is referred to by the symbol c. And I'll just show that equation here. Suddenly, we have an expression in terms of light energy for the value of mass in Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared. Einstein himself stated that the answer to space travel would be found if we could replace the value for mass in his equation with a value in pure energy terms. But let us return to the original equation. 1439 plus 264 equals 1703. Before we progress further with Einstein's equation, I imagine most readers are probably gasping for breath at this stage, so let us see if we could find any evidence to support Cathie's equation from outside his own research. This equation seems to be attempting to relate the manifestation of mass from pure light energy. So it could be said that when the harmonic of 264 is applied to pure light energy, matter formation is kicked into action. Let us look at one of nature's most amazing processes, the DNA behavior, so basic to the preservation of life on this planet and the building block of organic matter. Science knows how it happened, but not really why. If we look at it geometrically, we can not only see the key to the answer, but strong support for Cathie's equation as well. And here we have diagram 15 in the book. It says the geometry of the DNA molecule, and the subheadings simply say the spiral connections of the nucleic acids comprising the DNA molecule from rhythms of vision, and the tetrahelix, a helical array of triple bonded tetrahedra as appear in the DNA molecule. Awesome. I'm glad you guys figured out the audio situation on your guys' end. Alright. So we're almost finished with chapter 17. There's one page left, and then we will move straight into chapter 18. So let's wrap this up. Buckminster Fuller's geometric analysis of the DNA molecule, which is basically in accord with the Watson-Crick model, found that helical columns of tetrahedra, or the tetrahelix, nestled together in local clusters of 5 tetrahedra and 10 make a helix cycle around a transverse axis in a tetrahelix nestling column. But 5 tetrahedra, triple bonded to one another around a common edge axis, fall short of 360 degrees by 7 degrees in 20 minutes. This gap is called the birth unzipping angle of the DNA-RNA behaviors. The unzipping occurring as the birth dichotomy, the new life breaking off from the old pattern with the perfect imprint and repeating the other's growth pattern. Can we assume that this angle is arbitrary within the geometry? If Cathie is right, then harmonics should be clearly evident in this natural process. 7 degrees, 20 feet equals 26,400 or 26,400 seconds of arc. Alright, so I guess that's how it should be read, is 7 degrees 20 minutes. But it has the symbol for feet. So 7 degrees 20 minutes equals 26,400 seconds of arc. Alright. Although Watson and Crick did not identify the tetrahelix columns themselves, the numbers of increments they measured are the same. If it is shared by each of the faces, then each angle becomes 44 minutes, which equals 2640 seconds. Alright, so I guess that's an update or a revision to what I've already read here on the channel. Whenever I've said 7 degrees and however many feet, or degrees followed by feet, it was actually minutes instead of feet. I'm being as accurate as possible here as I go through all of this, and a lot of it's brand new to me. So I was actually speaking earlier with Zenray about how I would go about reposting some of these deep dives. I might have to go back and just reread all of this. We'll see what happens. I don't like retreading things too often, but maybe once we get through a few more books, when we get a little more knowledge on all of this and the concepts, then we can go back in and read these correctly. The only thing I figure I could do is go back in and put on the screen when I say it, when I say the degrees and feet, just say minutes, not feet. And that should take care of that. Unless I just completely reread through everything, which isn't an enticing idea to me at this point. But if we have to do it, we'll do it. This is for being thorough. So. Alright. Last paragraph of this chapter 17. If it is shared by each of the faces, then each angle becomes 44 minutes, which equals 2640 seconds. We can therefore see that 264 has clearly emerged as a primary harmonic associated with the formation of organic matter. I believe that the combination of all these factors shows without much doubt the human form is unique. We are at one with the environment, our environment. There would be very few, if any, people on Earth who would have the perfect harmonic combination. But those with the factors which are closest to the ultimate would be, in theory, the healthiest and most intelligent of us all. It would be interesting to check a small group of these people and see if they meet the criteria. And with that, we are finished with Chapter 17. We'll be starting Chapter 18 shortly here. I just want to take a moment. Yeah, we'll have roughly 8 pages in Chapter 18 here. Just give me one moment here. Alright, so no diagrams or graphs for this one, for Chapter 18. But this is the content that I wanted to get to in this book. At least the subject matter. Because it relates to Ed Leedskalnin. Chapter 18. Builders in stone. Shall we begin? There are men among us who understand the mathematical secrets which govern the universe. Now they are frantically, but clandestinely, trying to find ways of putting them into practical use. One cause for both the haste and the secrecy has been the inevitable realization that we are not alone in the universe. There is ample evidence that intelligent beings visited this planet thousands of years ago. Traces of long past civilizations, in many respects far more advanced than our own, can be found in ancient structures. The evidence of superiority in every sense of the ancients has shaken those who have rediscovered their legacies. An analogy would be the sudden discovery by lifelong inmates of a mental hospital that there was a world of, quote, superior intelligence, end quote, just beyond their locked gates. We have been visited and watched for possibly thousands of years. While our 20th century sciences have opened up the doors of space for us, it is also reasonable to assume that the ancients had knowledge far in advance of our own, and that space travel was, to them, a natural adjunct to their civilization. Yet, in spite of their great intelligence and frightening control over sources of power and energy, they were unable to prevent whatever the catastrophes were that visited the planet and eradicated many signs of their life here. With the state of the world as it is at present, our modern scientists must speculate many times a day on our chances of survival. Were there survivors of the ancient civilizations And if so, what became of them? Did they escape into space to build still another greater civilization or civilizations? Or were they people from space in the first place who looked upon Earth only as a small colony in a galactic empire? Are we descendants of these people? Or are we a new race carefully created and cultivated by the space people as organisms adapted to life here, to be custodian of the planet until they require it once more? Are we a prize herd owned by someone out there? Do they carefully watch us even now, coaxing and guiding us, teaching and punishing us, molding and remolding our future according to our own progress, and with regard to how we handle our own problems? These are but a few of the many questions that have been put forward by nonconformist thinkers in recent decades. Whatever we choose to imagine, there is always the hard fact. In historical times, there were races on this planet with an intelligence far superior to our own. There is evidence, literally, by the ton, that says so. There is evidence, too, I suggest, to show that there are similar intelligences among us today, and that their presence on our globe is a fact known to our own scientists. The evidence of the ancient civilizations has been uncovered in many parts of the world in the form of stone ruins. After studying these massive stone edifices, archaeologists have usually produced profound theories as to their purpose, finally to class them as temples erected in honor of some sun god or another, built in order to house pagan rituals or even darker purposes, such as human sacrifice. As we all know, a number of inexplicable stone ruins have been found as remnants of past cultures, including those of the Mayas, Incas, Aztecs, and Egyptians. In many cases, the ruins indicate patterns that were originally geometric in their design. Reconstruction and measurements have proved beyond doubt that in many instances, the buildings and structures had inherent in them mathematical concepts, which had direct connection with light, gravity, and mass. The buildings were not simple monuments or places of worship to dark gods, nor were they designed the way they were for purely aesthetic reasons. They had a definite scientific function. The function, I believe, was connected with power production, communication, transportation, celestial computation, healing, and possibly many other purposes which may still be obscure to us. Zenray says, heck no, we own ourselves. And I agree. I agree with that. We're told many times that we are much more powerful than we are led on to believe. And I do think that has to do with a lot more of these other concepts that are very difficult to find information on, such as light energy, like we're reading here. I believe that there are unquestionable geometric links between the Great Pyramid in Egypt and Stonehenge. The fascinating arrangement of monoliths on Salisbury Plain, England. I have uncovered evidence to substantiate my claims, and I sincerely hope that Stonehenge experts will have the grace to take a closer look at some of their own conclusions. I also want to make a note here that I'm aware that us in the modern day, I think it was in the 70s, just moved Stonehenge around. Like, we took the stones and lifted them and replaced them. I don't think there's clear information if they moved it from where it originally was, even if it was a few centimeters moved. So you have to account for human error. But, like, why even touch these things? There was some... I'll just say the elitists of the world probably had something to do with moving them around, and I don't agree with them being moved. Alright, let's continue reading here. Some readers have come to feel that I am always ready to condemn all scientists out of hand. I have no doubt at all that the majority of scientists are men and women of integrity who carry out honest research in their chosen fields. Unfortunately, the society in which we live is such that many of these dedicated people are unable to inform the public at large of their findings. There is a communication gap, partly a result of the lack of a common vocabulary or terminology that might put the people on the same wavelength as the scientists, and partly deliberately imposed. Money rules the world. The boat of vested interests cannot readily be rocked. The number of scientists, dedicated or otherwise, who have dared to speak out of turn in defiance of the moneyed establishment is very small indeed. The solution to this particular problem is education, the bridge that will close the gap between the laity and the scientists. The ecclesiastics of the 1980s. In time, that bridge will be built. Meanwhile, I am sure there are scientists who must be suffering the pains of hell for having placed the means for destroying great portions of humanity in the hands of politicians and military rulers. The next is in all italics. I appeal to these intellectuals, if they have a shred of honesty left, to tell the truth about the atomic bomb, about the preparations for germ warfare, about all the scientific marvels that the world would enjoy today if a sane and reasonable control could be placed upon the knowledge which is theirs. Very powerful statement there by Bruce L. Cathie. There are scientists who agree with me. I know this, for they have spoken to me about the problem. I can pry into their secrets and pass them on as I uncover them, because I am not one of them. Is it right that they should have a layman for their spokesman? It is a position which I feel... It is a position which I fill uneasily. Quote, "It is not for the public to know these things. It is not good for them," end quote. One scientist assured me. I'll let you be the judge of that. As I dug in closer to the truth of the UFOs and the power sources which they use, I was twice approached by a, quote, middleman, end quote, who was interested only in finding whether or not I would stop my research for a price. Sound familiar? When he found that I was prepared to go on with my research and publish at all costs, I was warned that unspecified, quote, strange things, end quote, would happen to me if I persisted. This is not a delusion of someone suffering from a persecution complex. It is perfectly true. A noted lawyer has the same, a noted lawyer has the name and a record of the veiled threat and who made it. I was able to give the middleman his answer during a television interview. I let it be known that I had taken a number of precautions, such as having a number of copies of manuscripts, charts, calculations, maps, and other research data, placed in several safe spots, so that if anything untoward happened to me, the work would be carried on and eventually published anyway. I said that I was not afraid. A little later, I was again approached, offered a position working with a small band of scientists, with the hint of a very healthy salary. My answer was the same, and on this occasion I gave a full report to the New Zealand government of the offer. Power groups today all have this in common. They are unable to understand a person who refuses to be bought. Frankly, I would like nothing better than to be able to carry out full-time research on all the matters that interest me for the rest of my life. But I would also have to be completely free to disseminate whatever knowledge I might gain, whatever conclusions to which I might be drawn. With that off my chest, I would like to quote from a newspaper story carried by the Auckland Star on the 23rd of September, 1969. It was filed from the London office of NZPA Router, and it was headed Stone Age Power Station? ? And here's that newspaper story. A group of amateur archaeologists has come up with a startling answer to one of the world's oldest and puzzling mysteries: the origin and purpose of Stone Age monuments such as Stonehenge. Evidence assembled over 17 years could alter current thinking on the mysterious circles of stone. The suggestion is that the stones form a gigantic power network. Mr. John Williams, Abergavenny, Monmouthshire, thinks all such monuments in Britain may be aligned in a single geometrical pattern. Mr. Williams, a solicitor, has compared the positions on ordnance survey maps of more than 3,000 prehistoric stone circles and single standing stones. He says every one is aligned to neighbors up to 20 miles away at an angle of 23½ degrees, or a multiple of that angle. Over the years, he has taken thousands of photographs of standing stones and believes he has found a significant clue to their use. A surprising number of photographs appeared spoiled, as if, quote, fogged, unquote. Mr. Williams said today, quote, "I thought nothing of it for years and put it down to bad camera work. But in 1959, a friend and I photographed the same stone and Brecon together. Both pictures came out with a fogged band across them in the same place. My picture was taken in color, and the fog band was dark blue. This led me to surmise that something in the stone was spoiling the pictures, a kind of ultraviolet light." Quote, "Since then, I've had many more examples of the same phenomenon. Most, if not all, standing stones contain quartz, a crystal similar to that used with the cat's whisker in early wireless receivers. I believe most stones would show the fog effect in systematically photographed. I now think the stones form a gigantic power network, though I cannot guess for what purpose. End quote. Mr. Williams offers 2 further clues. More than 200 of the stone sites are in north-south alignment and are named after King Arthur. Mr. Williams says, quote, "But Arthur does not signify a Celtic warrior being, or Celtic warrior king." I'll say that one more time. "But Arthur does not signify a Celtic warrior king." In Welsh, the name means Great Bear, and this may be a clue that the power system was based on polar magnetism. End quote. Said Mr. Williams, quote, "Radio waves and X-rays have always been there, although modern man only recently discovered them. Is it possible that prehistoric man discovered something analogous, which is still unknown to us?" End quote. Dolmens, groups of stones with a roofing stone, often delicately balanced, are usually thought to be sepulchres. I'll spell this name because I probably butchered it up. Sepulchres. Sepulchres. But Mr. Williams says human remains have been found on only 2% of such sites. He believes the roofing stones were placed as rocking stones to operate the power system. So I would say that they're saying the roofing stones were used at, like, when they needed them to, they would wobble back and forth and operate like a generator. That's what it kind of sounds like. Because he does say they were delicately balanced and not firm. So that's interesting. Alright, so that's all of that article. And Bruce Cathie carries on here. "Naturally, I was very interested in this report as it backed up a good deal of my own theories. The fact that the stones, as described by Mr. Williams, are lined up at angles of 23.5 degrees, or multiples of that figure, is most significant, as this is the angle of inclination of the Earth's axis. Mr. Williams undoubtedly was aware of this when he was interviewed, though the point is not brought out in the article. It will be worthwhile to pay a quick visit to Stonehenge. It comprises 2 circles of upright stone blocks, with 2 other series of standing stones inside, each of which is in the shape of a horseshoe. The outermost circle evidently contained originally 30 stones, each 13.5 feet high. The arrangement is known as the Sarsen Circle, spelled S-A-R-S-E-N. The diameter of this circle is 97 feet 4 inches, according to measurements published in the book Stonehenge Decoded by American astronomer Gerald S. Hawkins. So that's yet another book. The author carried out a scientific survey of Stonehenge and of all known data and references to it, and then with the aid of a computer was able to show that the geometric arrangement of the massive stones formed a highly accurate astronomical clock. The study also demonstrated that the architects of that time had an extremely advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. The measurements I give here are those published by Hawkins in his fascinating book. Of the 30 stones which once stood in the Sarsen Circle, only 24 are today in their original positions. There we go. That answers my question. I'll read that again. Of the 30 stones which once stood in the Sarsen Circle, only 24 are today in their original positions. The 30 upright stones were once topped by 30 lintels. Mortised at each end. Only 5 of the lintels remain in place. 25 are gone? That's nuts. The stones were not quarried locally, but were brought from a position near Newbury, some 40 miles away. And a mortise is a joint that connects two pieces of wood or other material. It's like a fastener. So these topping stones the ends were basically made smaller so that they would fit into a hollow opening at the top. So, like, let's say you have 2 of the stones. Try not to lose my place here. You got 2 of the stones in Stonehenge, right? Each of these things will have hollowed out indentations, like right here at the top, where those topping stones will then come down and fit into place. So almost you would have to go like this and then snap the 2 sides into the top portion so that it would sit. Almost like Legos, if you want to think of it that way. But that's what mortise means. And sometimes those indentations on the stones, they would go all the way through the stones, come out the other side to make a hole. And then the top portion would just fit in and sit there. Jason H., yeah, there's definitely some of these things in Peru. I've heard a lot about Peru. There's Pumapunku too, I believe, which is it's like up in the mountains. All right, continuing on. Before we continue on, John Ray said, "The scientist to tell the truth." That Bruce L. Cathie. And also he said, strange things like a one-way trip across the Bermuda Triangle. That he's talking about, like, strange things may happen. That was what Bruce Cathie was talking about earlier in here. Strange things may happen to these scientists who can't be bought. Alright, continuing on. Outside the Sarsen Circle, there was yet another circle. The Aubrey Circle, named after its discoverer. What remains of this is a series of 56 evenly spaced holes, which vary in depth from 2 feet to 4. Are you starting to understand how incomplete Stonehenge is today? There's an entire outside circle that's not there anymore, where probably 56 other stones sat. And we're already missing 25 of the 30 topper stones on the inner circle, which is the only thing that remains. And that's on top of all of these stones not even being in the same spot. Only 5 of them are in the same spot. And YouTube just kicked everyone off the live. Alright, so we're getting somewhere here. Good to know, YouTube. The diameter of this fairly accurate circle is measured at 288 feet, with a distance of 16 feet from one hole to the next. While the circle was not a perfect one, the greatest error, radial-wise, was found to be 19 inches, and around the circumference, in the spacing of the holes, 21 inches. Between the Aubrey holes and the Saracen circle, 2 other circular patterns of holes, now named the Y holes and the Z holes, have been discovered. Hold on a minute. Okay, cool. Cool, good to know, chat. It's saying concurrent viewers 0 in my YouTube studio that's in OBS right now. That's wild. Hey, Ivy. Good to see you. And thank you, Zenray, for confirming if you got kicked or not. It's telling me there's 0 people here watching. It's wild. And that happened only after I mentioned this paragraph, which I'm going to reread again. Outside the Saracen circle, there was yet another circle, the Aubrey circle, named after its discoverer. What remains of this is a series of 56 evenly spaced holes, which vary in depth from 2 feet to 4 feet. The diameter of this fairly accurate circle was measured at 288 feet. And again, this is an outside circle of Stonehenge, which doesn't have any stones anymore. With a distance of 16 feet from one hole to the next. While the circle was not a perfect one, the greatest error, radial-wise, was found to be 19 inches. And around the circumference, in the spacing of holes, 21 inches. Between the Aubrey holes and the Saracen circle, 2 other circular patterns of holes, now named... hold on. Between the Aubrey holes and the Saracen circle, 2 other circular patterns of holes. See, I'm trying to visualize this. Whatever's left of Stonehenge right now, there was an outer, larger circle with 56 more stones, apparently. Just vertical standing ones. So that's not even counting the topper stones. And now they're also saying, between those 56 holes that made up an outer circle, and then the Saracen circle, which still stands today, but only 5 of the 30 are in their original places. 2 other circular patterns of holes. So that's 2 more circles in between that, now named the Y holes and the Z holes, have been discovered. Are you following me? I think this is really important information here. There are 30 holes in the Y series, forming a circle roughly 35 feet outside the Saracen circle. And the Z series, 29 holes, from 5 to 15 feet beyond the Saracen circle. The holes are not regularly spaced. Excavation of each hole brought to light a single blue stone fragment of the rhyolite variety. We're hitting new information here, people. Alright, so rhyolite kind of looks like granite. It is the most silica-rich of volcanic rocks. It's generally glassy or fine-grained in texture, and the name for that's aphanitic. But it also may be porphyritic, containing larger mineral crystals. I just eat up this geology portion of this. But the rhyolite is brown in color. Yeah, it's saying 3 concurrent viewers now. Which, I mean, I'm not even trusting YouTube to show me the real numbers at this point. It's all good. We carry on. So why would this say a single bluestone fragment of the rhyolite variety? So I guess there's blue rhyolite? Because generally rhyolite's brown. Oh. I should just show this on screen here. Give me a second. Does that look good? Or, hold on, it's not on here yet. Alright. I confuse myself sometimes when I use studio mode here. Yeah, this is the one that popped out to me. So I'm not sure if they're saying all of the Y holes and Z holes have these. So there are 30 holes in the Y series, forming a circle roughly 35 feet outside the Sarsen circle. And in the Z series, 29 holes from 5 to 15 feet beyond the Sarsen circle. The holes are not regularly spaced. Excavation of each hole brought to light a single blue stone fragment of the rhyolite variety. And I'll just show a few more. Oh, what if it was like this? It's a shame we don't have the full Stonehenge around anymore. I'll just show a few more examples here. I would say it was similar to this, but it very well could be something like this. And then these even bluer ones, this is apatite. That's too blue for what we're talking about here. If I had to guess, it was something like this, a little more polished, though. That would make sense to me. Alright. Further descriptions and measurements of the Stonehenge complex would fill a volume. Yeah, there's already a few books I've looked up about Stonehenge that I might be picking up. At some point in the future, I'll have them. But the above information was of vital interest to me, coupled with the discovery by Mr. Williams of what seemed to be a form of radiation issuing from the large stones. Hawkins' work helps one to form a clearer picture of the possible purpose of the geometric pattern of the quartz stones. The diameter of the Aubrey circle is of significance. I'll say this one more time. The diameter of the Aubrey circle is of significance. The average diameter is given as 288 feet. I feel sure that if a precise check were to be made, a true measurement would be found to be 287.8 grid feet. A grid foot being a fraction larger than a standard foot. As is shown elsewhere in this book, the value of 2878 is equal to 2c. That is twice the speed of light harmonic of 1439. Next, we note that the Sarsen circle had 30 standing stones. 30 is also the basic spacing of the UFO grid system. A diameter of the circle is given as 97 feet 4 inches. It is not indicated whether the measurement is taken from the edge or from the center of the stone uprights. So again, they're talking about if we're looking overhead at these stones, are they taking them from the edges, the outer edge? Or are they measuring from the middle of that stone if we're looking vertically at them? He says it's not clear. Again, I have a hunch that if the measurement is again checked and translated into grid feet, it will come to 96.6 feet, which would give a radius for the Sarsen circle of 48.3 grid feet. As shown elsewhere, the square of the speed of light reciprocal harmonic of 695 is equal to 483. It appears as though Stonehenge was constructed to the universal geometric harmonics of light itself. The radius of the Aubrey circle is that of the speed of light. The radius of the Sarsen circle corresponds to the square of the reciprocal of the speed of light. And what of the fact that the large stones appear to be of a crystalline structure, and apparently emit a form of radiation, as shown by the fogging effect on the photographs taken by Williams. He himself suggests that the quartz crystal is similar to that used in the early crystal type of radio, much revered by small boys in years gone by, myself included. I believe he is very close to the truth. The small chips of blue stone found in the Y and Z holes could also have a crystalline structure and be caused to resonate to harmonic fields set up by the inner and outer circles based on the harmonics of the angular velocity of light itself. Could Stonehenge have been designed as a gigantic crystal set? A massive geometric device constructed in ancient times to serve as a transmitter and receiver of signals from the heavens? This I believe to be a probability, not just a possibility. There is still further evidence pointing toward this. When men build a modern radar station on a flat ground level site, it is necessary to surround the central radar scanner with a circular earthen wall in order to create an artificial horizon. This low barrier cuts out all random clutter from the radar screen and provides the operator with a positive horizon from which to calculate angular altitude. Stonehenge, too, is surrounded by a similar wall, although it is formed of the ubiquitous chart that is found in abundance in this part of England. The chalk mound forms the rim of a circle some 320 feet in diameter. This white wall, when it was first built, must have been some 20 feet wide and 6 feet high, according to measurements of its remains. So you hear that right? The chalk mound forms the rim of a circle some 320 feet in diameter. This white wall, when it was first built, must have been some 20 feet wide and 6 feet high, according to measurements of its remains. All right. Thank you, Zenray. Zenray says, love the background music. Hey, Sage, good to see you. Well, they were just saying here in the book, Jason, that it says for modern radar stations on flat ground level sites, it's necessary to surround the central radar scanner with a circular earthen wall in order to create an artificial horizon. So basically, it's like they're adding an endpoint to their radar circle. If they were using radio waves and harmonics at Stonehenge, which I'm pretty sure they were. It's really difficult to see. Oh, man. See, I don't even know what to look at here. Stonehenge is in such decay at this point. Like, I wish there was some better way to view this. A lot of this has sunlight shadows, what I'm trying to pull up here. Okay, we're going to show it anyway. Give me a moment here. Then we'll get back to reading. And we're almost done with this chapter, by the way. We've got about 2 pages left. So this is modern day Stonehenge. You can kind of see here the inner circle and the outer circle. Like, I don't even know what's what at this point. Because we have this, which is kind of a... I want to say this is a 3D rendering. But this inner circle was moved so many times. And then you see there's even more inside that inner. And then you have one ring here, but then this book is saying there's a second ring that isn't accounted for here. And then you have this outer one, which is made up of 56 stones. And then beyond that, you have the chalk wall. which is supposed to be 6 feet high. Which is, I doubt it's even there anymore. I don't think this is Stonehenge. Like, it doesn't even look like it. This looks like a good depiction of what's still there today. Really unfortunate. You got everything falling down and... You know, I would say if we knew the mathematics of this thing and what power and energy this would produce, I would be okay with just replacing it with brand new stones exact to the T. But where's that knowledge? Like, where is it? And again, we don't know what these spare stones here are. But you could see this larger circle. This must be the... This outer circle must be that chalk circle. Which really isn't viewable without snow, isn't that something? Unless you look at it here. That makes it a little more viewable. And then you see that, how they just made a road going over the side. Like, wouldn't you put this road off to the side? These jackasses. Just more evidence that those that are in charge here think they can just desecrate whatever, right? Yeah, we're getting a better idea. This much bigger outer circle is the chalk wall. That's something, isn't it? Or you know what? There's this other line, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, look at that. Could be this bigger one. It looks like there's even more. There's like at least 3 more here. But you have this little road that's going up straight through the circles. Jason H asks, so like to ground it maybe? I would say it's more like to reduce interference. Almost as if this location was being studied even by those that put all of this up. I guess, like, certain energy frequencies would be here. You see, there's 2 different sets of circles, but there's a 3rd one in this other image. Where are we again? Yeah. So I can't actually say for sure where this chalk wall would be. Says the chalk mound forms the rim of a circle some 320 feet in diameter. We're gonna do it. We're gonna just look on Google Maps. Stonehenge in Salisbury, UK. Alright, here we go. We want to measure 320 feet, and we got about 50 feet. 50. This must be the chalk wall right here, the wider one. But that's also where they have people walking. You see that? So how would we put this? Let's see. Let's zoom in a little more. Because there is this little outer boundary here. And then you could also see there's this dark gray or dark green. And then who knows how they're mowing the lawn here. And you see these big circles here? Who knows what that is? But we have this. So you know what? There's fragments over here. I bet you there was another wider wall here. There's probably a series of walls here. And Ed Leedskalnin says he knew the secrets of this place, so... I don't know what we got over... So, a lot of these rocks were displaced as well. Look at this station stone. I'm not even sure what we're looking at here. Alright, let's see what that shows up. There we go. Can we zoom in? What's that? They built this tourist trap right through Stonehenge. You see that? So there's outer circles and they made this little road so people can get closer to it. But you see these here? There is more to this. It's in such a sad state. Oh yeah, Sage? Yeah, I think I might have heard of that. Never really looked into it. If you figure out where the location is, let me know. You see, you have a little anomaly here in the grass. So I'm assuming that's part of... It's really difficult to say here. This might be just from the tourists, because that's just so widely defined. But we got larger bands going out here. I would say there was more of a complete thing happening here. There's a lot of deception going on with this location as well. Because you have the modern people that are taking care of this that... Most of them probably have no idea what used to sit here. But then you have the people in the know who are trying to suppress information. Like, we have these stones sitting right here. I wouldn't be surprised if these were part of yet another rock circle. And it just went all the way around. That's just unfortunate. And it doesn't say what the remains are of this chalk wall. You know what, I'll leave this up for the remainder. We only got 2 pages left. The 56 Aubrey holes were also filled with chalk rubble. So perhaps there is some kind of electromagnetic affinity between the molecules of chalk and the quartz crystal in the stones of the Saracen Circle, and the stone chips placed in the Y and Z holes. I want to say that these stones just got destroyed, just based off of the state and condition of this thing as it is today. I wouldn't be surprised if these were much more solid structures. Single pieces of stone, not just broken up pieces found in the holes. Another type of modern electronic equipment is a navigation device used for aircraft, and known as VOR, standing for Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Range Station. The equipment consists of a ground station and special apparatus in an aircraft which analyzes signals transmitted from the station. By constant variation of the phasing of the signals transmitted from the ground station, the equipment in the aircraft can lock onto individual 1-degree radials from the station. By this means, an aircraft can either fly away from or towards the ground station on definite set magnetic headings. It is perfectly possible that Stonehenge was an ancient equivalent of the modern VOR station. The Saracen Circle's 30 quartz upright stones may be likened to 30 radial high-frequency transmitters. Do you understand what they're trying to say here? This may have been some sort of aircraft. Think of it like lighthouses, but for land and with radio waves. I hope that makes sense, because that's what VOR basically is for land. Oh man, give me one moment here. Alright, Sage, we'll look up Columbia River, Maryhill, Stonehenge at the end of this chapter here, once I'm finished reading, because we're almost done. Something else of great significance to me was revealed in the Hawkins book. He refers to a certain lineup of stones revealed by computer analysis at equinox sunset. When positions designated by Hawkins at 94 and C, the letter C, are lined up with the sun, the displacement and azimuth clockwise from north in degrees is given as 269.5! Exclamation point. So Bruce Cathie was really excited about this. I'll read that sentence one more time. When positions designated by Hawkins at 94 and C are lined up with the sun, the displacement in azimuth clockwise from north in degrees is given as 269.5. Here we have the harmonic of 2695 showing up again. Better still, it is the result of a computer program. Could this be merely chance, as scientists insist? I doubt it. How many chances am I allowed before someone in authority will admit publicly that perhaps even a qualified, perhaps, I just may have discovered something that may turn out to be of immense value to mankind. Stonehenge could have been both a cosmic clock and a navigational ground station. To produce the harmonic resonance required to cause radiation from the stones, the geometric pattern must be aligned astronomically with certain key positions related to the sun and moon. Thus, a twofold purpose can be attributed to the Stonehenge system. More evidence of what I have suggested here is sure to come to light in the future, but I believe enough has already been presented to suggest that a closer examination of the inherent mathematics of Stonehenge will uncover a veritable gold mine of information. I admit the possibility that, in fact, scientists have already done exactly this. The fact that we, the public, have heard nothing from them would be nothing unusual. Another line of research which would be equally rewarding would be a mathematical probing of the Great Pyramid, which Ed Leedskalnin also said he knew the secrets of, along with Stonehenge and Easter Island. Of course, carried out using the harmonic measurements inherent in the UFO grid. May I remind you that the word pyramid has the literal meaning measure of light. One day, hopefully in my own lifetime, an academy will be established of scientists whose only allegiance will be to the truth and to the reporting of the truth to the public, and whose principal functions will be to undertake research on the ancient monuments whose secrets we have never been able to properly plumb. Any true man of science would already have taken recognition of the facts and figures I have pointed out in this chapter. He would already have undertaken research along these exciting paths. The monuments of ancient times bulk large. They stare us in the face. Their secrets defy us. The human response is to shrug them off. Quote, Merely temples and places of worship erected by slave labor, end quote, is the explanation that we generally get. Somewhere, there may be surviving masters of the ancient world enjoying a quiet chuckle at our obstinate blindness. Note: since the publication of this book, which again, this book was published. Oh, come on. It's not gonna tell me now, is it? Jeez. Alright. 97. It was originally published in 1990, but 1997 is this version. Since the publication of this book, I have carried out a further probe into the mathematical structure of Stonehenge with the aid of a calculator. I have found that the values as shown, although only a 4-figure accuracy, are indeed built into the complex. A complete mathematical breakdown of the concentric circular patterns, the spacing of the standing stones, and the Aubrey holes has been accomplished, and the findings show that the values are in accord with those demonstrated in the harmonic unified equations. There is now no doubt in my mind that this structure is of immense scientific importance, and that the understanding of the mathematical message inherent within the geometric pattern of the stones will one day enable man to conquer the universe. It is my intention to publish this data in a later book. And with that, we have completed chapter 18, Builders in Stone. So let's look up this other Stonehenge real quick that Sage talks about here in the chat. Here we are. Stonehenge Memorial. Alright, so it's like a smaller version of it. It's not doing the larger concentric circles of the chalk or anything. I wonder when this was built. Oh, look at that. No reviews. You gotta be kidding me. There's no reviews of this place. Where is it at? Washington. Goldendale, Washington. Stonehenge Drive. Washington State. Now this would be like 30-hour drive for me if I go. 29 hours. Look at that. Right on the dot. So it's east of Portland. Why would they put that out here? You know, there's actually a lot going on over in this upper portion of the U.S. I mean, even going up into British Columbia up here. And then, like, this is a whole other story. Like that, I'm not even going to get into that right now. But just think of these coastlines similar to what's happening down here with the Florida Keys. I mean, since we're talking about Homestead, which is right here, south of Miami. All the Florida Keys, like, there's star forts underneath this water. And there's ley lines that run, like, straight through over here. which just so happens to be part of the Bermuda Triangle. What a trip. Oh, excellent. Sage here in the chat looked up that information for us. He said 1910 is when this Washington Stonehenge memorial was built. And there's a Wikipedia page for it. That's good. Thank you for that info. Alright, we're going to make my video larger here. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate y'all being here today. Next Tuesday, we'll be starting Chapter 19 from Alpha to Omega. That's going to be a pretty short chapter. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can do 2 chapters next week. So chapter 19 from Alpha to Omega, and then chapter 20, there's something in the air. So that will be it for today. I really appreciate y'all being here. I know I say that every week, but I really do appreciate being here. It helps keep things interesting. Again, we have just a little left in this book before we start the Childress book on anti-gravity, which was also another... There were 2 books mentioned in that first Coral Castle book that we looked at, which is a more modern book. But here we have the Bruce L. Cathie, the Energy Grid book. This is what we're reading from if you do want to get your hands on it. It's a fairly cheap book to pick up. But some of these other ones I got, not so much. But the Anti-Gravity book by Childress, that's also reasonably priced. I guess just to give you a quick preview for next week, we're going to be talking about transmitters. 2 miles long. So, like, this would be something I think would be in the Rocky Mountains as well. This type of technology. Alright, and really quickly, I want to look up what Lake Pearson is, because we're going to be talking about that next week too. That's in New Zealand. So we're going to be talking about New Zealand Alpha Omega transmitters. So a lot of this research has been going on over there. And just to give everyone a heads up here, just give me a moment. We'll be starting chapter 19 next week and wrapping up with chapter 20. Then we will have 9 more chapters of this book. I'll read the chapters out. Chapter 21, Ooparts and Oops, Spaceship or Survey Peg, Ruapihu erupts, the Australian Stonehenge, the Organization of a Miracle, the Diminutive Man of Mystery, Bits and Pieces, Coincidental Pattern of Oil Wells, and Wake Up Earth. And diagram 21 in this book, which is from that chapter 26, The Diminutive Man of Mystery, that's referring to Ed Leedskalnin. Because the last diagram in the book is called Coral Castle and the World Grid. So I'll leave you with that for today. Thank you all for being here, as always. And until the next one. Class dismissed.